Brad Evans and Double G back on Thompson to Clark. We had a pretty busy week last week talking about the trade deadline stuff. We were on Bleacher Report. That was fun. A lot of people were upset with how even-minded you were with your take.
They didn't like me being cool about stuff, man. I don't know. I've always grown up under the umbrella of, things happen and you just have to accept it and move on. And that's we have no control over the trade deadline. We just hope we get certain players. We didn't. So you got to look at the positives, man.
And the other thing about that is when we did that show for Bleacher Report, I read Andy Baggerly's piece like the next day, and it was very similar to what we said, which is there was no killers out there. There was nobody that the Giants could get that were going to be game changers unless you dipped into the Verlander and Scherzer and Giolito, and those guys were going to be the ones to cost a lot of your prospects. So as far as the bats, that was the one thing that I was a little frustrated with because, they have a lot of depth, but they have a lot of depth that is young or not reliable and often injured. So I kind of get scared when we're relying on some of these players to, take us from August through October, and any amount of, Brandon Crawford's knee could flare up again and we'll be forced to play somebody else at shortstop. So it's just stuff like that where I was like, I just wish we could have got like that back end piece where if something does happen, I'm a little bit more comfortable with it. But instead, we got the great Mark Mathias on the roster.
Yeah,
going on. He sent.
How can you go wrong there?
He sent old Casey Schmidt down. Casey Schmidt was hitting like 105 over the last X number of weeks,
struggling hard. Man. But again, you always forget too. We don't because we follow this stuff, but players like Ramon Laureano are out there. The Indians the Guardians were awarded.
You're usually good about that. I'm the one who screws up.
I know that's the first time I think in a long time, and I even have it like the picture. I can see the name Guardians in my head because I saw the blurb today and I said the wrong name. But yeah, so they got him off of waivers, but there are going to be more players. There's going to be starting pitchers. There's going to be relief pitchers. There's going to be depth pieces, but you also have to remember some of these guys, are they going to be worth claiming off of waivers and then opening up a 40-man roster spot? I don't want to play spoiler, but we did lose a player off of the 40-man roster who we've seen up with the bigs the last couple of days, and Isan Diaz. And so they had to drop him down and try to pass him through waivers. He was DFA'd, and that's because Luis Gonzalez is back and finished his allotted stint in the rehab assignment in AAA. And at that point, you've got to activate him from the 60-day. When you're coming off the 60-day, you take a 40-man spot, because when you go on the 60-day, you relinquish a 40-man spot. That's the beauty of the 60-day. So here we are in this situation. And we might see a little bit more movement like that. It's not going to be anything earth shattering. I mean, Isan Diaz struggled. He's a great AAA player.
Yeah.
He struggled up in the majors with hitting.
So let's go over some of the things that happened since we last talked. Marco Luciano went down to Sacramento. I was kind of hoping he would stick around, but just knowing that guys were coming back, it was not that hard to predict that he was going to go back down. Yeah. Thairo Estrada was activated, so that was great to see. He actually played some really good baseball the last couple of days too. It was nice to see. It didn't really help as much as you would want in the win-loss column, but it was great to see him kind of ignite some things. He had a sweet drag bunt yesterday, and in order for Mark Mathias to come up, we mentioned Casey Schmidt. So Casey Schmidt is back down. So, man, Sacramento River Cats, they better make a run for it. They got all this great talent. All of our top guys are back there. And like you said, Isan Diaz and then Luis Gonzalez back in Sacramento as well. I wonder. I mean, it's probably going to take an injury for him to come up, but I wonder if they're sort of like, kind of what I said, where you have a lot of these guys who are often hurt, because Yastrzemski's still going to come back, so there's a little bit of it may be a little harder for Luis Gonzalez to come up than I previously thought when we talked about him last week. So, yeah, but the Giants, they're as negative as I'm going to be to start this show. The positive is that as of today, they were still atop the National League wild card, tied with the Phillies. So that is good news. Secondly, they are facing Anaheim this week. They're going into Anaheim, and there's no other, I would say, slumping team than the Anaheim Angels right now. They've lost every single game since the trade deadline.
Does that pretty much make it so that we're going to make the Angels look like world beaters then?
Well,
pretty
here's
much.
that's kind of how it goes. Here's the thing that's weird about the Giants. They play really well against good teams, and they have the worst winning percentage against losing teams out of all of the contenders. So what would we consider the Angels? Because just a couple weeks ago, the Angels were kind of making it a little bit of a run. They were within a few games for the wild card. It has not been that way since, but do we still consider them to be a good team? Because if we don't, then the Giants may get smoked in this series because they're not playing against a good team.
Let's say that the Angels are great.
I'm with you.
Let's go into that.
All hail.
So, and they face Ohtani on Wednesday, right? So that's going to be interesting. I think we faced him once 2 years ago, I believe it was. Totally different lineup. So this will be kind of a test. Because you know how it goes. We struggle against great pitching. We struggle against pitchers we've never seen before, rookie pitchers. But then, hit fairly well against pitchers who are kind of middle type of guys. Your 2s, your 3s, your 4s, and your 5s. But Ohtani is that true number one. He's not the most dominating pitcher in the majors this year. But just combine that with the fact that he's got almost 40 home runs. It's just absolutely mind-boggling. I was trying to explain to a guy at work today who doesn't follow baseball. He's a big soccer fan. And I tried to explain who this person would be like if you were watching soccer. I don't know of anybody. I mean, there aren't any soccer players who are fantastic forwards, but also go back and play great defense. You're not talking about like a Michael Jordan who could do both really, really well. In soccer, they just don't have that. So I told him, I said, they're going to be on local TV Wednesday night. Ohtani's going to be pitching. Just watch, and you'll be blown away by this kid.
And Ohtani, well, the live viewing of this, we're pre Giants Angels, which starts in about an hour. But the people listen on the podcast, this game will already be done. But I kind of wanted to talk about the game. We save it for the end, but I kind of just wanted to talk about it early in the show because I was looking at the lineup. The Giants, you could add up the Giants' top 3 home run hitters: Wilmer Flores, J.D. Davis, Michael Conforto. You add up all of their home runs, you get to 41. Ohtani has 40 all by himself.
Yeah.
And spread around this lineup, you have Drury with 14, Renfroe with 17. And those are your next 2 guys. And the Giants' top 3 guys are 14, 14, and 13. So from a home run perspective, the Angels hit the ball out of the ballpark a lot more than Giants do. But the Giants do have their ace on the mound, someone who is going to get a lot of ground balls. By the way, who was the little shortstop who just hit the ball over the fence yesterday against Alex Cobb? And I think it was who was in? Who was JD? I think no, it was Jock. Jock was in left field.
Yeah.
And he was playing so shallow that he was racing towards the fence in left field to get to the ball. And he could not get there in time before the ball cleared the fence. Like it was like he was like running just to get to the fence. And like they were playing this guy so shallow, and he takes 2 Alex Cobb pitches deep. One he picked up off the floor, and the other one was like a tomahawk on a hanging breaking ball. And I was just like, man, this guy's never going to hit 2 home runs in a game again in his life. And he hit it against the Giants, and he hit it against one of the best ground ball pitchers in the league. So something was funky. Something was going on in the air yesterday.
Those are the games that are so frustrating to watch. Yesterday was such a fluke game, the Sunday game, where the Giants are up 6-3 at one point, and you think, okay, they're going to wrap this up the way their bullpen has been the last couple of weeks. They're dialed in. This game is over. And then, like you said, little Nick Allen keeps fighting back. He's got 3 home runs this season, and 2 of them were yesterday. He's got 7 career home runs. He's a career 203 hitter, and he's hitting 195 this season. That kind of tells you right there, you know what? The Giants were not destined to win yesterday's ball game. I chalk that up as one of those games where it's like, well, that's baseball. And you just kind of have to move on, because if the Giants win tonight, they're let's see who's pitching for the Angels. Patrick Sandoval, great ground ball pitcher. When you look at that situation, the Giants can put the ball in play. He's not a huge strikeout guy, and then they can win this ball game tonight. And then you look back at yesterday's ball game and go, 1 of 162. It happens. Weird stuff's always going to happen.
Okay, but are you worried? I said we're going to preview the game a little bit, but now I'm already getting to yesterday's frustration. This wild card, and part of the reason why the trades, at the trade deadline and all that didn't really happen is because there are more teams in the race who they can consider themselves, a possible contender for one of the 3 wild cards in each league. So if you look at that as this wild card thing is working. Sure. So there's less players out there. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
But the thing that's frustrating, or that's bothering me, and Alex Cobb kind of mentioned this yesterday after the game, which is if it's going to be tight, and as of right now, the Giants are in the lead, but this whole thing can go, up and down. And I imagine we're going to be fighting for this thing, very late into the season. 2 games against the A's, which every other team in this thing probably said, we got both of those easy. Like, we don't have to worry about those. And the Giants don't. Is that going to bite them in the butt? That's kind of my worry, is you kind of gave away 2 easy wins. And I just hope that those, it doesn't come down to it. And it comes down to, oh man, if we had just won one of those games against the A's in Oakland, it would be so much easier.
I totally understand where you're coming from. And yeah, I mean, it was rivalry games, quote unquote, on the road. I don't know how the Giants do it when they face the A's. I don't know if it's one of those things where they just sleep in their own beds and they all hop a bus and drive over to Oakland, or how it works. I know with the Rams, when they're playing at home, quote unquote, home against the Chargers, they both play in the same stadium per NFL rules. The Rams actually have to stay in a hotel as if it's a road game. It's a rule. And then they bus to the field. That's just the way that works there. So I think baseball is a little bit different. Either way, I mean, the Giants are basically in the same time zone. They're, in the same area, but it's still a road game. It's still a series against your rival. The A's get up for these games. Giants beat them 2 at home. A's now take 2 at their home. But then you have to look at the series before against the Diamondbacks. The Giants was a heartbreaker in the first game, and they could have folded. That could have been a really ugly series. But then they come back and win 3 games in a row right after the trade deadline that they didn't have much business winning, because the fan base was upset. Everybody was upset about nothing happening at the trade deadline. But the Giants players said, this is who we have. This is who we are. We're going to continue on, win this series, take 3 out of 4 from the Diamondbacks. Again, it kind of evens out. So these 2 games, the Giants are probably going to end up, I'm just saying, if they are the team they are, and if 2023 continues to play out how weirdly it has been, the Giants are going to win 2 out of 3 against the Angels or sweep the Angels. And we're going to go Oakland series. What? I don't know what happened. I mean, the Giants still have a 3-game lead in the wild card. They're at the top. I think they're tied with Philly at this point.
Yeah.
Right? For the top spot. And still 3 games of play with that. Lost opportunity? Absolutely, because everybody else was losing this weekend in the past couple of days. Giants are the only team that had a winning record of all of those wildcard teams in the past 5 days. But again, if the Giants are a good team, like they are telling us that they are, then they go into Anaheim and they take that series, and then they continue on from there. But again, really tough schedule coming up ahead. And yeah, you hate to lose even 1 game in Oakland, but to lose both of those games, especially the second game, that Sunday game, in the fashion that they did lose, it's extremely frustrating, extremely heartbreaking. But then tonight and the rest of this series in Anaheim, we're going to see what this team is made of.
I was thinking about this, back to this game, back to this Monday night opener against the Angels. I was like, this is kind of cool. Maybe Shohei is kind of, now I don't want him to beat us, but maybe he's showing off for the Giants. And then I thought, no, it's actually the other way around. The Giants have to show off for Shohei.
Yeah.
And so spanking the Angels in all 3 of these games, that would be fantastic. That would show him, hey, these guys got it together. They this is a good organization. They come into our park. They lose 2 to a team that they should have rolled over both games. And they know they got to take care of business. I kind of like that. So
yeah,
let's go. Let's get all of these games. Let's push the poor Angels, even further out of contention in the American League. The other thing that I'm scared of, though, when it comes to the Giants and this wild card is, like you said, thankfully, a lot of the other teams in the wild card race are faltering. So Cincinnati Reds, who were hot, they've lost 6 in a row. Miami has lost 4 in a row. Arizona has lost 6 in a row. So they're falling out. Arizona's falling out of it a little bit. The Padres they had a pretty good week, but they lost 2 in a row to the Dodgers, I believe. Was today the first game of that series with the Dodgers?
No, it was actually the last game of the series.
Okay.
It was kind of a weird Friday through Sunday.
Okay,
series.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But the thing that is
or Friday through Monday, sorry.
A little scary about the Giants is because of their lack of run production. If you want to look at the entire race, so Milwaukee at 60 and 53, they actually have scored less runs than the Giants. But every other team except for Miami has scored more runs than the Giants. Thankfully, the Giants are controlling the other team's scoring, but they're under 500 runs for the year. The Dodgers have scored 637 runs. The Giants have scored 495. That is scary because the offense is continually getting worse. There's no real sign of improvement as far as I can see. I'm just seeing, a lot of bad offensive baseball, a lot of strikeouts, a lot of guys on base that just do not get moved over or don't get hit in, like a lot of just terrible clutch hitting. Now, some of that is, it's some of it is just sort of luck and circumstance. And like you said, it's baseball, but that is concerning to me. Less than 500 runs. And you're looking at some of the poorer or more average teams in baseball have actually scored more runs than the Giants. That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the fix is. It's not AJ Pollock who's hitting third today. Like he should be an additive, right? He can add in some instances, and like you mentioned with Sandoval on the mound, he's hitting third because he hits left-handed pitching well,
Right.
not because he's a traditional third hitter. I think he's currently in his Giants career. He's an 0 for 3 with 1 strikeout. So there's small sample size there, but they're depending on him to come in and rake against right-hand or left-handed pitching. So the lineup is obviously dead set on righties, and Slater, Estrada, Pollock, Flores. Flores is their best offensive player, and it's not really close right now, and he doesn't even play every day. JD Davis, Patrick Bailey, Conforto, who's hitting 7th, the only left-handed hitter in the lineup, and Matos, and then the great Mark Mathias is hitting 9th, just got called up. So, very heavy right-handed hitting lineup. I think you would also mention that it's possible that they're probably going to throw some righties coming out of the pen, so you kind of get Pollock out of there early. But I don't know if I like that because, he's a pretty dependable defensive player. So, do we end up putting Jock out in the outfield again?
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of in that situation because Slater's already in the lineup and Pollock's already in the lineup. Those are, and without Yaz there, I mean, that's kind of your defensive outfield as well as Matos. And honestly, too, pouring over numbers and looking at everything, I don't know what the solution is. I mean, we know that this Giants team has hit before. Thairo's back. He's just getting his feet back under him. He helps lengthen the top of the lineup. Of course, he's not in the top of the lineup tonight, right? He's let me look at the
Thairo's hitting 2nd, I think.
Oh, he is hit second.
Yeah,
okay, so he is hitting 2nd. So again, that lengthens the top of your lineup. You're going to have Lamont Wade Jr. off the bench tonight. But Thairo and then Mitch Haniger coming back. I know he wasn't hitting lights out before he hit the DL, but he was just starting to heat up. And unfortunately, it was bad timing with the broken arm. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is other than continue to play good defense, which is what they did not do on Sunday. So that's really the best thing they can do. Continue to play sound defensive baseball and have great pitching out of the bullpen. The starters will give you 4 or 5 innings. The openers will give you 1 or 2. Bridge that gap, get to the back end. Camilo Doval has been fantastic. It's the in-between stuff, just the one extra hit here and there to drive in a run. To instead of a 1-run lead going to the 9th, now you got a 2-run lead. Now you got a 3-run lead going to the 9th. Anything like that is going to help. Just the little things. The Giants are a team that just have to do little things. And we've seen that pretty much all year long. There is no room for error with this team. Even in the 107 win season, there wasn't a ton of room for error. The Giants won a lot of games that they could have just as easily lost. But it was sound, fundamental baseball. It was timely hitting. It was clutch hitting. And I think that's pretty much all the Giants are missing right now is that clutch, timely hit. When that starts to come around and starts to fall, it's going to get contagious. It's going to go up and down the lineup. And then, as we know, also this year, the Giants are streaky. They can roll off 5 wins. They can lose 2 in Oakland. They can come back right now and win 5 or 6 ball games in a row. That's just kind of the team that they are.
Before we get to the player of the week and our drink, though, mine's getting a little light there. I wanted to talk a little bit about Kapler because he had a couple of quotes that I wasn't really frustrated at. They were very predictable, but I just want to remind him that, we're 110 games or whatever it is into the season. And I'm going to see if people can see this, at least on video. I'm wearing my De La Soul shirt.
Nice.
Stakes is high, right? we're in August. So we're in need of playing. It's the HBO show about the LA Lakers called Winning Time.
Yeah.
We're in winning time right now. So the Giants have been able to win on the margins. They're able to win those close games, so that is not a problem. Though some of that can be chance. And let's take some of the predictability out of this. Let's score some runs. Like they need to figure out some stuff. So, okay, the two quotes I wanted to get your thoughts on. So they asked him about the offense. And I was a little befuddled because I wasn't exactly sure who he was talking about. But he said that this team, I don't exactly remember the word. You know, he's very concise with his language. He's saying particularly vague things, but in his own very Kapler way. But it was something to the effect of like, this team has historically hit the baseball before, so I'm not really worried about that. And I was thinking about who he was talking about. Like, who's the guys who have consistently hit the baseball? Because your two best offensive players right now, Wilmer and Thairo. Tairo's just coming back from injury. He's having his best season, so you can't look back on him and go, oh yeah, he's had 30 bombs. Like he can come back and be that guy. This is who he is. He's showing us. Wilmer is having one of the better seasons he's ever had. Maybe he's talking about Conforto, because Conforto has been an all-star or close to an all. I don't remember if he made the all-star team, but he's had really good seasons before. JD Davis hasn't really. He's, I think he's probably playing more than he's usually playing. Yastrzemski, Jock, they've all had better seasons, I guess, but it's not like what they're doing now is super inconsistent from what they've done before. Like, do you buy that comment that this team, you just sort of got to keep throwing them out there because they've shown that they've done it in the past?
I buy that he probably meant clutch hitting, like I had just talked about. I mean, guys like Thairo, guys like Jock, big home runs. Yaz is going to come back. Yaz has clutch hits. When you look at Brandon Crawford's week, he hit like 150, but he had a home run. He had 5 runs driven in, more runs driven in than anybody else on the team this week. Spoiler alert, I did not put him in the player of the week because I couldn't put somebody in the player of the week that hit 150. I had a really hard time with that. I did struggle. But I think I'm gonna take it as he meant clutch hitting.
Okay.
Because the Giants, this team has never been a team that's gonna hit, you're going to have 2 guys that are going to hit Luis Arias type of 400 baseball. That's just not what we do. We get on base. We bunt, we walk, we move runners over, we get a big hit, we drive in 2 runs. That was earlier in the season. That's kind of disappeared since the All-Star break. So I think that's kind of more what he meant. We've got to see the clutch hitting come back. That is super key for this team, because right now you've got pitchers that are going out there, starting pitchers, openers, they're going out there and they're struggling because they have to be so fine. They have to be so perfect. When Stripling was pitching fantastic baseball the other day and he gave up a solo home run, I started going, oh man, here's Stripling again. I go, no, wait, the guy is pitching fantastic. Yeah. The Giants just are not scoring runs. They're making it so he's having to walk this tightrope, and it's very frustrating. We saw this back in the early 2010s from the World Series teams. But you had pitchers like Timmy, you had pitchers like Lincecum, you had pitchers like Bumgarner, Kane, and so guys like that, they are good. I mean, they can walk a tightrope and they don't care. They probably rather pitch in those tight games like that because that's what they kind of thrive off of. But clutch hitting, man, and I really feel like that's what he was talking about.
Do we need, and I'm going to show this to the people watching on video.
Yep.
Do we need Joe Boo?
Mm-hmm. Joe Boo needs more rum.
We need something.
Yeah.
There need some. I don't know if Kapler's big on on all the voodoo, but
he's got to be, man.
I would like to see
them.
I would like to see them create something to kind of believe in, like Joe Boo, to just kickstart this offense, man.
I'd be all for that, but don't steal Joe Boo's rum. That's the key, because bad things can happen. And maybe somebody did steal Joe Boo's rum right around the All-Star break. I mean, that could have been the issue that we're dealing with right now.
Okay, here's the other comment. It was about Sunday's game. So I was I'll set it up for you. We have something called the kebabacue, where we barbecue
I saw this.
kebabs.
I like it. Yes.
And so the idea is that when Crystal and I got married, it was something that the kids could get excited about. And then my kids would come, and then my ex-wife would come as well. We'd have like this kind of blended family like hangout. And so my oldest son dropped off his dog because he had to, I forget, they went go bowling or something. So he dropped off Amber a little early. So I was hanging out with Amber and my dogs. And we were just hanging out outside.
So Amber's the name of the dog.
Amber's the name of the dog.
Okay. All right. That's throwing me off. Gotcha.
Amber, Iggy, and Issa are the 3 dogs.
See, and I get the other 2 dog names, but I don't get Amber. I got to talk to Brian about this. I mean,
she's an Amber, though. She's very clearly an Amber. She's the most like gentle, large puppy you've ever seen. So
I love just human names for cats. We have a neighborhood cat. He wears a tuxedo, so I call him Frank because he walks around like Frank Sinatra. So I've named him Frank. I had a cat, a male cat. His name was Peter. So I get it.
So I turn on the Giants game on the radio. And I've got my Kindle out, so I'm doing a little bit of reading. I'm just hanging out with the puppies. It's warm outside, but I just don't want them in the house because there's 3 of them, and we're kind of getting ready to have the kebabacue. So Luke Jackson comes in the game, and he can't get the ball over the plate. He walks somebody. He goes 3-0 on the next guy, and I'm like, all right. He had his 3 batters. The first one got on an error. And then he walked the next 2. Giants are only up a couple runs here. Let's figure out what we're doing. Or maybe no, they were only up 1 at this point, I think. And so I was like, okay, they're going to take him out. Let's get it. He can't find the plate. They don't. He gives up a base hit. They lose the lead. And I was like, man, like, I wonder what Kapler's like. What is his excuse for not actually taking a pitcher out who was not he didn't have any confidence in his pitches? And the pitch that he gives up a hit on, I think it was Dave Fleming, who's like, yeah, or maybe it was it may have been Estes or Lowe. I don't remember who was on with Fleming, but basically there was a pitcher talking and saying, when you can't trust getting the ball over the plate, you just tend to throw it right down the middle, and that was the pitch that gave up the hit. And so Kapler's reasoning was Luke Jackson has done it before, and he will do it again, and I have ultimate faith in him. And I'm like, how? Like, he's been on your team for like a month or 2. Like, where does that faith come from? I saw him excel in the World Series with the Atlanta Braves. I get that.
Yeah, that's probably what he's talking about.
But how have we haven't seen it this year to where he's one of your best relievers. Like I could see if it was Duvall or if it was Rogers, right? If it's those 2 guys, then to me, I go, okay, yeah, that 100%. I get that. Those are 2 of your best guys. Now, some of this is maybe he feels that Luke Jackson needs a little bit of confidence, and he needs to know that his skipper is behind him. So maybe that's just Kapler managing through the press. But to me, I was like, where's the information? Show me that Luke Jackson is the guy who we can depend on here to load up the bases and get out of this thing with no damage done. So what did you think of that excuse for our man Kapler?
This is pure 100% evidence that Gabe Kapler is using Chat GPT. I think, right? I mean, because how much more canned of an answer can you get there? That's just, like you said, that's just managing through. That's just, pump up, rah.
Yeah.
I mean, I take that one as I don't have anything else to say, but I have faith in Luke Jackson that next time he goes out, he'll pitch well. Well, you have to. You're a manager. You make the decision. You put a guy on the mound. You put him out there because you want him to pitch well. So that's just, that's one of those, hey, press, I've got some words for you, and here they are.
Yeah, I get it. But as a fan,
yeah,
what I wanted him to say, what I wanted Kapler to say was, I trusted Luke. He was struggling, but he's got my faith and trust. And yeah, if you can have that one back, then, I probably should have taken him out. I can see, I can say, okay, you acknowledge that maybe that wasn't the right move, but you still have faith in your guy. He sometimes he's just so adamant that it was the right move, even when it doesn't work. And I understand some of that because they have their playbook and they do things the way that they want to do them, which is fine. But at least if it doesn't work, just say that it doesn't work, dude. Like, we're good. We're accepting of that.
I think you can say what you just said. I think Kapler could say that. But we have to know the personalities, and Cap knows the personalities of these guys. So if you say that about Luke Jackson, you also have to imagine that the press would walk up to him and say, hey, Kapler said if he could do it over again, he would have taken you out. And then Luke Jackson would be the type of guy that said, yeah, he should have taken me out. So I mean, if Luke Jackson is that type of guy, you could play off of that. You can air it out. You can get it out there. No harm, no foul, move on, and then Luke Jackson would say something along the lines of, I'll go out there and I'll be much better next time.
Yeah.
Because you can't be worse. So,
all right, let's talk about what we are drinking. Then we'll get to our player of the week. And then we're probably going to kind of wrap up because we pretty much raced through everything that we were going to talk about. I will quickly go. Because I am done. I finished.
Look at that! I saw you drinking a red vino over there, man. But it just went like, pew.
So we have a red wine called Fit Vine, and the idea behind Fit Vine is that it just has less sugar and less carbs than other wines. So it's not, this. It's not going to be this, this wine that you roll out on a, Saturday night dinner. Paying $80 a bottle. It's not that kind of wine. It's kind of like, if you want wine and you don't want it to be a killer on your diet, here you go. And Crystal and I enjoy it because we're kind of acclimated to it. So it's just like, if we're going to have a glass of wine during the week and we're not going to worry about, the carb intake or the sugar intake, we'll do Fit Vine because it's, doesn't have that much sugar in it. But so I like it. But so I usually go Scotch or whiskey or tequila or something here, or bourbon, and I was gonna go Jack and Diet or Kentucky's Best and Diet, but I was like, oh, we have this bottle of Fit Vine there. I haven't had any Fit Vine in a while, so that was my choice. And so not the best choice on a hot day because there's no ice in it and it's not refreshing, but I don't know, it just looked appetizing to me when I saw it, so that's why I
see. Now of wine, so I'm not a big wine drinker, but of wines, I could drink red wine the most on any day, really. On any given day, I like the reds over anything else. My wife likes the minerally white wines, kind of earthy minerals. Now, flavor wise, Fit Vines, would you say it just tastes like a normal wine?
It tastes like a $10 bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon. Like, it's not you're not gonna buy it to have with your steak dinner. You're gonna kind of buy it just to have it hanging around when you need something. Now, we usually go white because you can chill the white wine. And in general, the white wine will more than likely have less carbs than the red wine. But because we've been drinking a lot of white wine, I looked at that red wine. I was like, oh, I haven't had red wine in a little while. Let's go.
Now we chill our reds also.
Okay.
And then we take them out of the fridge about a half hour, open them up, pour them, and especially during the summer. And then it kind of changes as it opens up and warms up a little bit. But yeah, we chill our reds. I kind of like it. Again, we're not chilling like $50 bottles.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to get back to basics because we need to win again. This is my Joe Boo. I made a T to C.
Yeah.
I just went for it, man. 2 limes in there, nice citrusy. Got the grapefruit, citrus, Zevia, the Terramana Blanco in there because I had to get back, man. We had to get back to let's get some key base hits. Let's put 4 on the board in the first inning and put some pressure on the Angels the rest of the series.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the
real basic, but not crazy.
No, it sounds refreshing, especially because it was 89 degrees here in Sunnyvale. Though I had a buddy who was out in Sacramento. He said it was 98 degrees in Sacramento.
Oh, yeah. It was, I don't know what we had. Right now it's 80, I don't know, 83, 84. It was probably 90. It's pretty much during the summer, it is pretty much 90 degrees or above here every single day. We don't get anything else.
All right, let's wrap this up. Player of the week.
All right. So our player of the week, we had 3 choices. It was kind of tough because it's not like we've been going crazy offensively. Our offense has been offensive, you could say. But we did have a player with a good defensive week that was on the list. So coming in third place, Logan Webb. He had a good his one good outing this week. He went 1-0, 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Coming in second place with 42.9% of the vote, Lamont Wade Jr., a 160 WRC plus with a 304 average. Steady Eddie at first base, 2 home runs, 4 ribs, 3 runs scored.
Home runs are good for him too, because when he was hurt, he was not hitting the ball at the park.
Exactly. He's hitting jacks. And again, I'll go back to it. Somebody on the Bleacher Report show that we did said we should have gotten CJ Cron. CJ Cron is awful away from Coors Field. He's been terrible for the Angels so far.
Yeah, they're playing against him tonight.
I say that, and he's probably going to have a great game. But Lamont Wade Jr., you can't take Lamont Wade Jr. off the field. He's one of our best hitters, and he's been just outstanding this season. But coming in first place, Patrick Bailey, 57% of the vote. He had a 1.8 defensive WAR on the week. We saw him with the back pick to first base to
win that game.
End a game. I mean, that was absolutely fantastic. 18.2% walk rate. He's starting to kind of see the ball a little bit better. 278 average, a 118 weighted runs creation plus, 1 run, 1 RBI. Not a huge offensive week, but starting to get going again.
He's getting on base.
Yeah, he had 2 walks yesterday and 2 hits, so he's kind of starting to pull it back together. But that 1.8 defensive WAR, throwing base runners out left and right, framing pitches like a crazy man out there. So Patrick Bailey is our player of the week.
So I liked when he threw the guy, the back pick that you said. Yeah. And Kruk and Kipe were like, oh, they're going to look at that. And then they saw the one replay and then Kipe's like, game over. Like, it was that was
well,
awesome.
Yeah, because it was a little questionable because Lamont Wade Jr. kind of dragged that. I mean, it's such a quick tag and such a quick throw. He dragged his glove across the ground just a little bit. And I thought, oh no, that little hesitation there cost it. But no, it didn't. It didn't cost him.
Before the replay, you would actually do the quick tag because you're trying to, you're trying to show, you're basically trying to fool umpires. You're trying to sell it. You can't do that anymore because everything goes to replay. So you got to hold the tag on as long as you can. So just to make sure. Yeah. Okay. And then my second favorite thing is, I think this was yesterday's game. It was either yesterday or Saturday's game, but there was a hit. A scored a run, and whoever's in right field, maybe it was Conforto, I don't remember. He threw out Tony Kemp at home plate, and and Bailey, he was dead to right, so he tried to kind of jump around, and Bailey kind of, he has it, and then Tony Kemp jumps, so he's kind of got to like tag him high, and Tony Kemp kind of flies over, and athletic dude, he's trying to score, and Patrick Bailey went over to like make sure that he didn't like hurt the guy, and he's like picked him up, dapped him up, and I was like, but that was really nice. Like that would never happen in the 70s. Like, and people
he might have gone over there and shoved him back on the ground.
I know, like people are always like, oh, baseball in the 70s taking at Pete Rose taking. I'm like, no, I don't like that stuff.
No, we want to see players stay on the field.
Yes,
and we want to see the best players continue to
not
play.
Football.
We don't need
we have football. We don't need football.
Yeah, we don't need to see guys get knocked out.
All right, so we are going to end this a little bit early because last week and the week prior, we did 2 shows during the week, and those are all posted on the YouTube channel. Bleacher Report let us take the live feed and download it and put it up as shows. So if you wanted to see us in the Bleacher Report ecosystem, those are up there in our YouTube channel. And hey, give us a follow on the YouTube. The one thing about YouTube is they changed the monetization where you had to have 1,000 subscribers before you could monetize, and they dropped it in half. So you need 500 to monetize. We're still under 200. We're pretty new account still, but every once in a while we'll pick up a few here and there. The biggest the biggest jump that we had in views on a video, and it was very surprising to me, was I cut up us talking about AJ Pollock last week about why the Giants signed him, and all of a sudden people wanted to watch that video. So we got some good views on that one. But we'll have, I think Brian and I will be back Tuesday night. So for podcast folks, Wednesday morning, talking the Steph Curry documentary on Apple Plus. And we'll talk about a little bit about Mike Dunleavy, who was on the Tim Kawakami podcast, and Klay Thompson was also on the Paul George podcast. So we'll talk about all of that stuff. And then football's back, man. Sunday, 49ers and Raiders in the first preseason game for both teams. And Roderick and I will be back Sunday at some point. I haven't figured it out exactly, but check out our socials. That maybe we'll figure it out by tomorrow, and I can say it on the Death Lineup. But just in case, keep checking all of our socials to figure out. But Sunday night, Sunday late Sunday or Sunday night, Roderick and I will be back with the first the recap show of We Want Winners. We'll talk about the first preseason game. Roderick's been out at every single public practice that the 49ers have held, so he is going to have some thoughts.
Dedication, man.
What's going on with the Rams this year? What are you thinking about the Rams?
I think they're not going to be good. They had to dump quite a bit of salary, but after this season, and they had like 12 draft picks too, 12 or 13 draft picks. After this season, they have a first rounder again. And I think they're going to be clear about $50 million in cap space after this season. So they're going to probably get back to their winning ways. This year it's going to be a lot of growing pains, a lot of young guys on the club. But always fun to watch Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, and Matthew Stafford.
What's his deal? Yeah. You think he's going to play for a few more years, or?
Oh yeah, he's back healthy this year. Last year he had the shoulder issue, and they ended up having off-season surgery, and he's back to pretty much normal. He's out from the start of camp. He's just been the guy. So yeah, I think he probably plays another 2 years. I think he's got 2 years left on his deal, and he'll play those out. This is going to be the first year since 1995 that I have not had Sunday ticket.
Oh,
and I'm not sure how
on
I
YouTube
feel
now.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it yet. I don't have an extra $500 laying around to pay for it because I don't subscribe to YouTube TV.
Man, you should just be able to get your league pass, your team pass, couple $100.
Well, for $15 a month with DirecTV, which I still have, I can add Sunday ticket. That's part of the sports pack, Red Zone channel.
Red Zone channel. There you go.
Yeah, which is part of the sports pack. So I think I'm going to do that this year. And I've had XM Premiere, like the big package, for years and years and years. And that I can just listen to the game. So I can pop in the AirPods, listen to the Rams game. The Rams broadcasters on radio are fantastic. It's DeMarco Farr, former Rams player. So he's so fun to listen to all the time. I listen to them when we're driving on Sundays sometimes. So I'll just do that, have the Red Zone channel on and do stuff around the house like I normally do. So it's going to be weird for me this year, but I'll probably get 4 or 5 games where they're actually on TV. Definitely the 2 against the Niners.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they play the Raiders this year, so that's another one. So yeah, it's going to be odd, but
yeah, who knows? Maybe YouTube will, as the season goes on, maybe they'll offer some discount packages, especially if the Rams are competing.
I sure hope so. Yeah.
All right, we are done here. We will be back next week. The Giants, they have a pretty good schedule. It's Angels and Rangers at home. So this weekend you get to see the return of Boch. That will be a lot of fun. And then the Rays are going to be in at Pac Bell after that as well. So 3 series. The Angels may not be what we'd consider a good team unless we tell the Giants. The Angels are a great team if we tell the Giants. But the Rangers and the Rays, those are 2 of the best teams in the American League. So those are going to be some good series over the weekend. And then next week, when we will be back we will be back talking about the weekend of Angels, 3-game series, the Angels, 3-game series, the Rangers, and sort of previewing the series with the Rays. So we'll be back on Monday of next week. So for Brad, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.
Peace.